Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Ended up being a really busy week. I made a prediction about two things that would happen in one video, and then got to make two videos about those things in the same week. I also got to put out my Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review. Oh man, what a monster of a game that was to play through the first time. I still got to play through it one more time for hard mode, but ooh, that'll be fun. I'll be doing that at midnight, like NA launch this coming Wednesday. And I'm even going to be dressed up for it in case you missed that news. Again, going to be embracing my dreams. But yeah, it's been a busy week. This week is also going to be busy, but mostly after Rebirth comes out. I'm preparing a lot of minigame focused content for Rebirth, guides and whatnot on that. Showcases of all of them. That's what I've been focusing on instead of trying to tell people how to play this character or that character. Maybe I work on that in the next couple of days, just because people might be a little bit curious about how the characters play or what their strengths are, etc., etc. That's definitely not been my prerogative. What has been is playing Last Epoch until Rebirth comes out. I have been loving that. Listen, there may not be a monk class, but I went with Hand of Judgment, which is a paladin, an unarmed paladin build. Oh, it's making things much easier. I don't really know what to do with it at this point. I think I'm just trying to wait until I get a few other things, and then it's going to be all down to crafting. But it's been a good time. I've really been enjoying Last Epoch. All the same, I want to get through to the Q&A so I can get working on some more 7 Rebirth stuff for all of you this week. So thanks for tuning in. If you have a question, be sure to ask in the comment section. That'll be for next week, but I'm saying that at the beginning of the video because y'all don't wait till the end of the video, and then you ask me how you ask a question, and then you ask that in the comment section. I've gotten emails with people saying they're not sure how, and I'm like, watch the whole video. Watch the whole video. So really got to get used to saying it here at the beginning. Thank you to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. You don't have to, you choose to. All my content's available for free here on YouTube, and I don't plan on changing that anytime soon. So without further ado, let's get into the Q&A. Oh, no Magic Spoon ad this week. We're good on that. We're all squared up. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey there, Haps. Hi. And a few for those who forget, hopefully none. Do we have any idea when the Dawn Trail benchmark will drop? Okay, so you asked this, I think, the same day or the day of me releasing the video with the prediction. I believe we won't see it until very close to Dawn Trail's release, probably within about 6 to 8 weeks. Only because of the graphics update. They're going to want it as progressed as possible before they give us our hands on female Hrothgar, which is the main reason why they're going to be releasing it. Obviously, it's to test your PC, but obviously they want people to get their hands on female Hrothgar character customization as well. So I would expect it to be very, very late compared to how it is when there isn't a new race. So I'm going to guess May or even early June, to be honest. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you and the cats are well. I wanted to see. Oh, no, you can see Ivy back there on the couch. Have a second. Hey, just in case. No, we already got extras. We're doing good. Just watch your spoiler-free review of 7 Rebirth. Very excited. My question is, if I've completed the demos, will those sections of the game be skipped, or will I have the option to play them again? You will be given the option to play them. So if you want to, you absolutely can. If you don't want to, then... Oh, and keep in mind that's only for the first part of the demo. The second part that they released on February 21st, that you're going to have to play no matter what, because from what I understand, I haven't actually played it because why would I at this point? That section is changed specifically for the demo section. However, the first part is the genuine intro to the game. So yeah, that seems to be the case. So yeah, you'll have a choice though, in case you don't want to skip it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. And hello for the cats as well. Oh, one of them. Aloha's just staring at me. You can't see him. He's off camera. I have a question regarding cats. How did you introduce Ivy to Aloha? What do you think you did right and wrong? We have a cat already and want to get another, so any advice on the topic is appreciated. So number one, you have to get your cat situated to the living space first. Ivy spent maybe 2 weeks inside of a bathroom with a closed door. And it wasn't until she started coming out and reaching under the door that we took it as a sign to start letting her try to, explore around a little bit. And that same time, we would keep Aloha locked in another room. Anytime she wanted out, we would just isolate him. So if they were going to interact, it would be, again, through a closed door, or it was going to be through a baby gate, actually. So they would be on opposite sides of the baby gate, and if she wanted to explore around that, and then he would wait by it, and then they would both kind of interact and get used to each other's scent through that. The big struggle is cat personality. It's no matter what you kind of do and approach, you have no idea how your cats get along with other cats if they've been living without other cats for a super long time. Aloha, for example, doesn't like Ivy's hyperactiveness. When she's really, really riled up and she gets annoying and she wants to play, he instead just gets annoyed. So what he sometimes does is he bites down on the scruff on the back of her neck and pins her down to just stop her from moving. However, she doesn't like that, so she fights back. That's like a personality difference between the two that you have to consider. And when they're first getting used to each other, that's going to be at its worst. So it's possible two cats get along immediately, even if they have different personalities. If he didn't find it annoying and instead was just glad to have a buddy around, then you know that one little personality change would have made for a more fluid experience. But over time, they've eventually come to an agreement where he kind of just does his own thing, but when they're napping, they nap together. So that way they can keep each other warm and they just have they treat each other as pillows. So when it comes to sleeping, they're really good with each other. When it comes to just coexisting, they're good with each other. But when she wants to play, I need to play with her. He doesn't like playing when she's playing, and she doesn't like playing when he's playing. So I need to be extra careful about that. But for the introduction, it's just slow and make sure that you keep them somewhat separated as their scents start to mix. Litter box is another big thing to consider. She might be, well, I say she, your cat might be afraid to use a litter box that has your first cat's scent. So I would highly recommend changing all the litter out, changing the lining out when they start adventuring out. So that way they can mix and match a little bit more. They're less afraid of using the litter box. And also whatever room you have them sequestered away in, make sure that is a litter box that is completely fresh as well. Lining completely changed, new bag of litter, all that stuff, because you want them to not feel intimidated by the scent of another cat in a brand new environment. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Oh, we have our first not hello. Good thing we had all the extras. We already had a not hello. What jobs put you to sleep? What job or jobs put you to sleep playing, and which do you find most engaging? Also, I do really miss Gun Mage from Heavensward. It felt so good, and I don't have an explanation for why. It was very cohesive, Gun Mage, because even though it was Gun Mage, when you were doing all of your burst, or if you needed to move, it was very much like a very consistent experience, cohesive experience to plan around, because you would have all those instant cast gun abilities for those really important times. Bard made a lot less sense because your only real solution was to turn off Wanderer's Minuet or to use Feint. So it was very, very different of an experience that didn't feel as natural, even though it was strong. As for which jobs put me to sleep playing them, Red Mage. Red Mage, I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so boring. I don't like playing it. No. I'd rather play Summoner. And that says a lot, because Summoner should be the answer to this question. Most engaging is Monk. Monk and Black Mage are the two jobs that work without being compromised inside of the 2-minute meta, because their rotations do not have this perfect fluctuation that they always must follow, or the game is ruined. Monk is hyper flexible getting into and out of its 2-minute buff window, as long as you know what your overall goal is. It's kind of like when Paladin was first reworked in 6.3, when there was the optimal buff window, but most people just started saying, don't worry about the optimal buff window. Just worry about, what are those 3 extra abilities going to be? It's flexible. It's not that big of a deal. It's worse to try to force things to end in a certain way. Far more clunky to do that. So it became this flexible buff window that worked really well, even if it was, again, really streamlined and straightforward. Monk, it's just because they can flow in and out of their combos so freely, they have the freedom to enter and exit as long as they get the correct amount of perfect balances out. And Black Mage is very much the same. They have an idea of what they want to accomplish inside of the buff window, and ideally they'll try to make that happen, but it's not the end of the world if they can't. They have a lot of control over their OGCDs, how they spend them, how they save them, and that makes for a much better and more engaging experience, which is why I love both of those jobs. Hashtag Mr. Monday's happy. Hey Haps, hope you're doing well. Thank you, and same to you. Do you think the extremes in Dawn Trail are going to drop 2 totems like the majority of Endwalkers, or will they go back to 1? No, we're at 2 forever. I don't think we're ever going to have 2. Okay, let me put it this way. If they do 1 each for the start of Dawn Trail, then it reveals something about their thought process. It reveals that they know there's, outside of the MSQ, not as much content to grind when you actually reach max level. So they want to extend the grind. It's the only logical reason to not have 2. And most people will pick up on that and won't like it. So I think we're permanently at 2 totems. Now the real question is, when does it become 3? Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Well met, Mr. Happy. Hello. What's your favorite place, either brick or mortar or online, to shop for groceries? What's the name? Oh, man. So Mel used to shop at this online grocery. I think it was called We. And it was that what it was called? I don't remember. It was basically like an online Asian supermarket, so you could get groceries delivered, because I don't have enough. I walk everywhere, and I don't really have a good Asian supermarket within walking distance. So that is probably my favorite service whenever I specifically want that stuff. I just noticed that this was entirely off, by the way. This entire capture is just off to the left. I just wanted to get going. So I'll fix it before the next question, but right now I'll move it into the middle. That's gotta be one of my favorites, just because it's something I don't have access to. If I could walk to like a Mitsuwa or something of that nature, then I wouldn't bother. And that would probably be the answer. When I used to live pretty close to a Mitsuwa, that was by far the best. But you know what? I think the GOAT, and you can tell I shop at a lot of Asian grocery stores, because what do you want me, like the normal ones, like what am I gonna say? Like a ShopRite? Does ShopRite exist anymore? I don't know. I don't remember the last time I saw one. Yeah, you know, like, no, AMP I know doesn't exist anymore. But like, I don't have a favorite amongst those. It's whichever has the best sale. But when I look at the Asian supermarkets, which is where I like to buy a lot more stuff, H Mart right now, holy moly, I love H Mart. I don't have one in walking distance, which is why I need We. But if I lived near an H Mart, dude, all this would never have happened. I'd still be 225 pounds. I wouldn't be 175 to 180 pounds because I wouldn't be able to stop myself. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, good sir. Hello. Hope all is well. I'd say so. And thank you for all the retrospective videos. It's been a long 10 years, yet 10 years isn't long enough with 14. It's been 13 for some of us. Soon to be 14. Quick combo question. What level do you think Beastmaster will start out as? 1. And what gear do you speculate they will share? That depends. If they want to do it more like a crossbow or a whip, then I wouldn't be too surprised to see it be aiming gear. But I think they're going to go with striking, in all honesty. It's tough. I don't think I could confidently say either or, because it really depends on what interpretation of Beastmaster they want to do. And there are quite a few to go through. But a DPS set, I'll say that much. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well. You too. I've been slowly making my way through Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Love it. And finished the main story today. I was wondering if you had any tips on how to approach the endgame content, any recommendations on how to best power up, or any pitfalls to look out for. Currently maining Zeta and mostly play with CPU teammates. So number one, if you're going to mostly play with CPU, don't neglect them. I know it's tempting to just power up your main character, and honestly, that'll be enough, but you are way better off with your AIs just powered up. On that note, some AIs that are really strong are only strong with most of their skills unequipped. So if you're looking for an AI that does a lot of damage, for example, running less is more on a handful of them drastically improves the way that they actually play. Zeta does happen to be one of them, but you're playing as Zeta, so you don't have to worry about running less is more. I think less is more Vasaraga less is more Vasaraga is really good. That's the name of the sigil that you have to run for that. I think he's a good AI as well, but if there's ones that just like spam skills, it can be kind of tough to like nail one down. So a lot of people end up going Cagliostra with Phantasmagoria equipped. The MC can be really good, although as an AI, they're definitely less effective. You can give them some utilities that help, but once you have enough gear, those utilities matter a whole lot less. Like I said, less is more. I think Vasaraga is a pretty solid choice. There's a different character. It's not, I think it's Id. Id with less is more, I think is also supposed, I think you give him less is more and equip him with one skill. I don't remember which skill it is, but those are all really good choices. But the biggest thing is how to increase your damage. You need damage cap sigils. You want to get to level 65 damage cap as a sigil trait as quickly as possible on you and all of your AI. On top of that, for Curios, you really want the supplementary damage sigils, and you really want either 4 pluses or 5s. War Elemental is really good on pretty much everybody, the more of those you have, but these are really rare. So the problem is that these are rare, and all you can really guarantee is that they have damage cap and survivability skills. Guts, Auto Revive, Potion Hoarder, by far the most important one, I think. Drain, in case you don't want to have to deal with health. Even Regen for AI can be fantastic. I mean, stacking like max regen and then just having powerful enough AI, you can literally AFK some of the hardest missions in the game with the proper setup. So making sure to have survivability skills and damage cap as soon as possible will speed up the process, especially if you do it for you and all of your AI. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi. I've been wondering ever since they announced variant dungeons coming back in Dawn Trail if that will include Criterion. Yeah, they said Criterion on stage. In fact, they didn't say variant on stage. They said Criterion on stage. And that was interesting. That it like the first time they got there, they didn't even, well, actually, no, I think I am remembering it wrong. I think they said variant and Criterion out loud, but the slide only said variant. Yeah. Criterion is coming back. They did confirm that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. What's your prediction for offhand slot for the forthcoming 14 jobs, Pictomancer and Viper? Nothing. There's not going to be anything for the offhand slot. They don't even want to use it for Paladin. They're not going to use it for these. They said if they could combine sword and shield into just one item, they would do that over having the shield. But now that people have had the option to equip and glam the shield separately, they can't go back. They can't suddenly say, oh no, now you can't do that. Unless they had like a good enough glam system, which they don't, in their back pocket to actually do that. If they ever make a big enough improvement to the glam system to let you glam a different shield without it using an equipment slot, which isn't, I mean, I'm sure with the way it's programmed, it's very tough, but like conceptually, that's easy enough to understand. They'll get rid of shield for Paladin as an equipment slot and just make the sword and shield like as one item, the main hand only. So no, they're going to do nothing with these. You're never going to see the offhand slot used again. I can say that with a lot of confidence. You are almost 99%, I'll say, never going to see the offhand slot used again, except for maybe limited jobs. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hi. Recently got 6 Pixel Remaster on Steam and I loved it. Glad you did. Final Fantasy 1 was next on my list, and when I got it, went on sale recently. The game, however, is kind of kicking my ass in the beginning. That is perfectly normal. The biggest difficulty spike would be the marsh cave that you're going to go into early. There's poison everywhere. You cannot over prepare enough for that dungeon, and even when over prepared, it's kind of a pain. So warrior, red mage, white mage, monk, really standard party, my party that I usually use, in fact, whenever I play. You just need to buy as much gear from that elven city as possible. I guarantee you that's where you're getting your ass kicked, because I've played this game enough to know when the first real ass kicking comes, and it is Marsh Cave. So yeah, you just need to stock up on whatever you can. Antidotes, if you can get Poisona, make sure to buy that as a spell for your white mage. And then just whatever gear you possibly can farm up. I think that if I recall correctly, there should be packs of Gigas right outside of the Elven City. I think Elfheim is what it's called. And those drop a lot of gil. It takes like an hour, but that'll basically make the rest of the game really easy if you do that. So you can always turn on the cheats to speed up the gil farming. Don't feel bad turning those things on. You don't need to sit there for hours farming gil. If you can turn on the gil cheat to like quadruple the gil drop rates, that's probably sufficient enough to make it so you don't have to sit there forever. Hashtag again with the Mondays. I like it. Hello, guy. Hello. Always a random personal-ish question for the happy guy. What would you say are your biggest strengths and weaknesses in games or life in general? You pick, my guy. Strengths is determination. I very rarely stop doing something when I consider like I absolutely have to do it. I mean, that's how I have a career in this in the first place. I saw an opportunity to do something that I really like doing for a living, and that comes with its own pros and cons, but I'd say I've largely managed to get into that. Weaknesses is fear of new things. I would definitely say that comes to all aspects of my life. I have the second channel now. I haven't been uploading on it because my game schedule has been packed, so my video making schedule has not been packed. But like, the fear of releasing a video on the channel that is outside of my norm and thus needing to make a new channel, but then pulling the trigger on that took forever. When it comes to actually conversing with people, I have a difficulty introducing myself into the conversation because I'm going from kind of like a status quo situation with me just kind of existing into a new social scenario. And that for me is definitely intimidating. It's why people say you don't seem introverted when we see you online. That's because I'm online. I am already inside. I can be introverted in here. This is my safe bubble. You know what I mean? So that's a huge thing to overcome, but it overlaps with difficulties getting into trying new things a lot of the time. They always have to be measured, quickly enjoyable or successful, and that can be a real struggle in a lot of aspects of life. Hashtag Mondays with promo code Mr. Happy. No, SteelSeries has promo code Mr. Happy and Magic Spoon, but Magic Spoon's not sponsoring this video. So you'd have to go back to last week's video and do that. Hi. I play Dark Knight because I prefer to tank, and I feel like Dark Knight keeps me busier than the other tanks, but I really wish there was a tank that made me concentrate like I have to do on Black Mage. I know that will never happen, but what are some niche picks you still think need to be filled in XIV, and how would you fill them? I don't think we have that many niches. At this point, it's just job fantasy. For example, a lot of people want Rune Fencer as a tank in 14. And really the niche to power there is combos generating runes and then expending runes on some sort of resource, you know, or having a button that instantly grants runes. And then the question is, do you make different combos, give different runes? For example, like what if Rune Fencer, I don't know, what if each rune gave you a flat percentage mitigation that you could use on your 25-second, you know, like every tank is like a 25-second mitigation tool that they can give to themselves or an ally. What if they did that? You know, what if they made it so that like if you have one of this rune that grants an additional 5%, you know, damage mitigation, or like if you have this rune, it grants like 5% or 10% like a magic reduction or whatever, you know, like that. They can do stuff like that, and that would probably be a bit more engaging, but you're right that it's never going to get to the point that you're discussing right here, where you want it to be like hardcore. Like, honestly, you should try Gunbreaker, because if you try to do optimal Gunbreaker rotation, if at any point there's a slip up, it feels clunky. I mean, I guess that's the opposite of Black Mage. Black Mage is not clunky when you like concentrate and play it well. Gunbreaker can get clunky just because you couldn't get in range of the boss for half a second. So maybe don't go that direction. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Hello. Hi. Hope your hair will be as fabulous next week as it was this week. It's a hat day. Solution 9, a simulation or a physical world within a world, or a completely underground megapolis. Judging by the scale of the interior and the map's depiction, all of those could be possible. I'm leaning towards simulation. Have you considered a physical world being simulated? In other words, they were all once physical beings that were digitized into another world, and the entirety of the landscape might be entirely fabricated from data, but the individuals inside were technically once physical beings that were transferred into data. Consideration. Hashtag protect your honor with Mr. Happy. Yes, I must protect my honor as soldier. Much love to you and coffee check. Coffee check right here. Hold on. I'll take a sip. It's leftover from this morning. It's still warm though, because I keep it in thermoses all day. Oh, there's a little bit left. You hear that? I got a little bit of a late afternoon caffeine. I was going to say drip, but I didn't like that word. I'm going back to the question. On the topic of job starting cities, feel the need to bring up the relatively recent case of Sage, which started in Limsa, but proceeded to send you to Idleshire, where it effectively stayed throughout its quest line. Seems like they're already in terms of having jobs be elsewhere, just have to actually take the last step. Yeah, I mean, you saw me kind of fumble around the answer to that last week, because I realized that every logical thing that I said was only logical in Stormblood and stopped being logical every expansion after that. So there's that. As something a little different, what's a little surprise that caught you unaware in a good way in the game that you hold on to? One that comes to mind to me is the random quest line in the Shroud where a girl asks you to see about someone who might be stalking her, only for that to be turned out to be a relative who was a fugitive from the law. I always think of Alpha and Omega being all over the place, especially after certain quests are completed, as long as you've beaten the Omega raids themselves. I love that. I love just finding them like at 3 different places in the playground in Garlemald, or making friends with a monkey over in Thavnair, or, you know, trying to watch a chef make a recipe in Mordona. Like they're scattered all over the place, and there's like, it's just like one of those details that makes the world feel very alive. It's very much like being able to find the Void Ark out in the Sea of Clouds and the Churning Mists at certain times of the day. It's just something that makes the world feel like it's moving, even when I'm not participating in those activities or doing a specific piece of content. And I really hold on to that. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hello. Last week, someone mentioned Stormblood MSQ Ultimate, and you mentioned how there wasn't enough content that can make it cohesive make sense. However, Top removed all but 3 bosses from the ass. Somebody brought this up, so they said the same thing in this question last week. So couldn't Stormblood MSQ Ultimate be the last 3 MSQ bosses from Stormblood Samurai, Shinryu, and Tsukiyomi, with having the story revolve around altering Tsukiyomi's fate? That's not... Like, how do I describe this? It's lame. Not your idea. I mean, the Stormblood MSQ and the way those characters interact is lame. All of the bosses in Top being Omega, it eliminated the story aspect of the Tournament of Power, but focused on Omega's experiment and its conclusion, and what would happen if he had made a breakthrough and was able to continue the experiment to an absolute extreme. But this is just like, yeah, you could, but like Shinryu should be the final boss of something like that. And as soon as Shinryu's gone, even if you were to rewrite like a what if scenario, going from Shinryu to Tsukiyomi is such a like uninteresting leap from one to the other that you're only doing it to say you've done it. Like there's nothing exciting or fun or like presentable to the player with that actually is believably enough cohesive, even if it's a completely rewritten scenario. It's just lame. And that's the problem with Stormblood's MSQ, is that it's divisive, it's separative between the 2 branches, and it's just lame. Like, that's it. That's a problem. It's lame. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. I'm back from vacation, and with maintenance over, that makes this week the week I start Endwalker. Ooh, my question is, do you have any advice or I don't know how you've been watching these videos, bro. I throw Endwalker spoilers all around here. Do you have any advice or recommendations for someone who's dipping their toes into the endgame gear treadmill for the first time? Buy crafted gear, beat Savage, and you're done. And cap your tomes weekly. Yeah, obviously, you want free tome gear. But I mean, honestly, upgraded crafted gear is more than enough to do everything. And then you're just collecting gear to get bis, which is fine if you want to do that. But, if you're just looking to win, then that's kind of just like a result of you winning, I suppose. Also, make sure you do the 24-man weekly. You want to do all 3 of them weekly to get a free upgrade mat for your tome gear. And if you have spare time to do the hunt, you can buy Tomestone upgrade gear from that as well. So that way you can instantly upgrade that, 900 tomes that you spend a week. You can instantly upgrade those items, and that's a huge boost in item level. Also, on the thing with intentional but subtle layered references, someone at TBU3 must love poetry because the game is chock full of references to the likes of Shakespeare. Oh yeah, no, they're wild about all that stuff. So they're really, really good at this kind of stuff. If there's anything we've learned over the years, is they are great at this. And the people who are truly cultured notice, which is why I tend to miss it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hi. A little more clarification from last week's questions on remembering bosses. Okay, I do remember this question. I didn't just mean dungeons. I meant all content like 24-man raids and just everything in the game. Yeah, they don't want a resource that tells you everything in the game, though. Like, I am actually, believe it or not a fan of the dungeon journal in World of Warcraft, which basically achieves the same thing. For the sheer focus in that, and the sheer reason that it's just, I don't know, for me, it takes me out of the game in a sense. I don't know how to put it that in a way that makes sense, because if I can't say it takes me out of the game and then to go look up something outside of the game. I guess for me it's different because the difficulty of 99% of content in this game is not severe enough for me to not be able to recall it or react to it as I do it. And I know that only speaks for myself. I mean, not only me, but I'm only speaking for myself at the moment. So like a 24-man or a dungeon, like even if I forget something, it's so inconsequential and I'll remember it pretty much immediately after I do it. Like, oh yeah, that's right. And then it's like, whatever, who cares? It's like, it's not major content in any way. And then the only place that really needs those reminders is endgame raids. And I don't want like raid strats or like every raid boss attack in the thing. Not to mention, it kind of doesn't even serve a purpose, the journal, for something as high end as that, because mechanics are often major dances. And then when you think about that, yeah, the way 14 even works, it's not like it's a bunch of debuffs that you, it's not like it's always a bunch of debuffs where you just like, oh, this does fire damage and leaps to another character. It's like something really basic that just gives you the behavior. A lot of the times a boss casts a move And it does like a major dance. Like I'll give you a good example. Matoya's Relict, the last boss. Let's say you're trying to explain the fact that the boss jumps to one side, starts pulling the entire party in, drops AoEs the entire time. All of those attacks technically have different names, but the entire sequence is considered a part of the initial cast bar because that's how most of us would associate it. So does the journal end up describing it as, oh, you know, when the boss casts this move, they'll become untargetable and jump to this side. They will then begin pulling the party at a gradually increasing pace. If they pull you all the way to their side of the room, you'll be killed at the end of the cast. Also, there are AoEs to, you know, like the way that 14 does its fights, it's really hard to present that information in such a way that's cohesive with something like a compendium app. Outside of literally just linking to creators' videos, which at that point you could do yourself. So the only other options are something like pulling up the console games wiki when you do a dungeon. And that's just like, I just wouldn't worry about it with such easy content, you know, and then the harder content, you probably wouldn't do that in the first place. So I think it's just really not the game to have a resource like that in game because it's way too much information that needs to be presented for content that does not require that level of thought. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, senor. Hello. I hope you and your cats have had a good week. It's been a good one, I'd say. Boop Aloha and Ivy Snoot. Aloha hates that. Ivy's not a fan, but she likes it because it's attention. Wanted to ask, to your knowledge, is there a place in game where players can practice their rotation? I know about striking dummies around the world, but I meant more so without having to wait for cooldowns to return. So if you go into Stone Sky Sea, every time you exit and enter, it resets all your cooldowns. So Stone Sky Sea is basically just training dummies with a 3-minute timer for specific encounters. So it's meant to act as a gauge as if you're doing enough damage to actually do that particular encounter. It's horribly scaled, but it does achieve what you're asking for. Another option is to use Explorer mode. When you zone into an instance, all your cooldowns are reset. That includes if you zone into a dungeon with Explorer mode on your own. You can then instantly put a training dummy down at the entrance to the instance and then practice there. Keep in mind, it's only going to reset the cooldown when you enter, and if you mess up and want to do it again, you'd have to leave and re-enter, which is a pain. But those are your two best options, most likely. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Cat Owner. Hello, greetings and salutations. First of all, keep some hellos for these people who forget them all the time. We had one, but fortunately, it's already been covered. Now, for the real question, Wizards of the Coast is releasing a Final Fantasy themed Magic set in 2024. I thought it was in 2025. Oh, you know what? No, I probably heard it last year. And in the last 6 months, it's been like 2 months. So it just feels like it hasn't been that long since I heard about it. What do you hear, feel, think about it? That the packs are going to be $40 a fucking piece because they have no minimum price. Only reason I'm not interested. I'm not paying $40 a pack. I don't care if it's a business deduction. I'm upset that it's even a thing because they have no MSRP on those. If people want to send me the packs and have me open them, great, I'll do that. But I'm not someone, I mean, to be fair, if somebody sent me the packs, I would buy like binders and stuff and card sleeves and do it proper. But I don't normally care that much about that. But it's just, oh, dude, I just don't want to. It's so much money because there's no MSRP and it's just, people are just going to sell it for crazy amounts and it's so stupid. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hello. Are you in the waiting room for me with Dragon's Dogma 2 to announce a monk vocation? No, I gave up on that a long time ago. Character Manila just exudes monk to me, so it's not that much copium. It's copium. What vocation were you looking forward to playing maining? So I have a big thing with games like this where there's lots of classes. I do not research or watch videos on any of it in advance. I like to see how intuitive the game is with making that decision. How good is the description on the main screen? How much do I end up playing? And then I go from there. If I end up not liking it, so be it. I'll usually find a way to make it work, or I'll go, man, I probably should have played this. But in the case of Dragon's Dogma 2, I'll just change my vocation. So it's just like, that's it for me. You know, I just don't like to research because for me, I very much like to live in the moment with the game as I'm playing the game. Yeah, even though I'm a creator and, you know, I would behoove me to do a bunch of research in advance, get some videos ready, blah, blah, blah. I'm also, especially in the last like year or two, I just want to be involved. It's the same. So I'm playing Last Epoch right now. I did no research on the game ahead of playing it. I pretty much saw that they had the factions with the Circle of Knowledge and the Merchants Guild. I saw how they were doing that. And I said, oh, you know what? That tells me that these people understand the type of person who is playing this game. So All the other systems, I'm going to stay in the dark about and judge them as I experience them fluidly. So like if the game does a bad job of showing me these things, teaching me these things, I can use that to judge how the game genuinely is without being someone who's try-harding to go out of my way to get knowledge. And that is something I do eventually, like once I've gotten deep enough into a point where I just need to fill in gaps of things I don't know, don't understand, want to learn, etc., etc. But I want games to be intuitive, so when I talk about them with people, they know that it's coming from a place that I learned in the same way that a normal person would learn. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. I got second not hello this week, man. I guess this is a topic that you've covered a bit before, but the tombstone issue has been a hot topic again in the community, in particular now when the weekly cap tomes are at 900. It's obvious that it's so much better to have the cap at 900 instead of 450. Incorrect, and I'll explain why. And in particular, if you want to gear multiple jobs, it takes 8 weeks to get this. It's too long. What would your solution be? Why do you think Screenix are so conservative when it comes to certain things such as gearing? Also, why does the Alliance raid drop 10 item levels below the cap? Isn't the point of Alliance raid to be catch-up gear? So why doesn't it catch you up to the current? It does. You just upgrade your tombstone gear. They want you to still go get your tombstone gear. They don't want you to get this and then not get your tombstone gear. All the same. And with the same with Criterion, why don't they give gear? I don't know. We've had that discussion about 1 billion times already so far. Wouldn't it be more beneficial to have several gearing paths, in particular for casual players or players that don't want to raid? Okay. 900 cap is terrible for one lone reason. It is a lot of tomes to get on the weekly for anyone who isn't just playing the game every day. The better solution is for gear to cost less. That way the cap is still 450, but you can obtain more gear with the 450 tomes. I am someone who used to be in the 900 is better than 450 camp. Then I had somebody speak some common sense into me and I realized, you're right. I have no desire to farm 900 tomes every week. I will never have the desire to farm 900 tomes every week. It doesn't matter if it's at the start of the expansion or at the end of it. It won't matter. I don't want to do it. So reduce the cost of gear. And I know you're like, oh, but Happy, that means people will be done playing the game even soon. Yeah, I don't care. It's terrible to farm 900 tomes. As for the Alliance raids, it's because of the difficulty. They care that the Alliance raid is so easy, but they also care that they want people to want the gear from it. So that's why it's 10 item levels lower. Criterion's a mystery. We don't know what the hell's going on with that. Hopefully they have a solution next expansion. Hashtag chaos on Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello there. Hi. I have 3 questions. I see they're very short. Will we ever get consolidation of gear types for melee jobs? No. This was the opportunity to do it. They didn't do it with Viper. They're not doing it. 2, how different would 14 be if it was a one character, one job system? It would be terrible. Will we get Stranger in Paradise collapse so we can kill chaos? That ship has long since sailed. Hashtag Mr. Happy recording days. Hello. Hi. Quick non-spoiler related 7 Rebirth question. Non-spoilers, I appreciate that. I know you get a few bonuses for having remake and /intergrade save data on your PS5 at the start of Rebirth. My question is, can I delete the game itself from my device without losing the save files? I need the space to download the next one. If not, does the check for the save file occur within the demo portion? That way I could just get it out of the way now. Okay, so the answer to when it checks, as soon as you boot up 7 Rebirth. I think maybe as soon as you make the save file, actually, but do I have footage of me? I don't want to check it right now, but I have footage of me initially booting up the game, so I should technically have footage of me doing that. But yeah, it checks pretty much as soon as you boot up on the main screen. I think you have to click downloadable content, and then it'll do the check, but it's like on the main menu screen. But you... Wait, I could get it out of the way now with the smaller demo file. I'm not sure what you mean. You can't use the demo to check for it. You have to use the main game, the full game. But it checks before the demo section, I'm fairly certain, if my memory is correct. To answer the initial question, I don't think that works. There might be an option for it to back up the save data somewhere, but I don't think you can technically... I don't know, because I've never done it. You might just need a quick Google search for that one. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, mate. Here's a reminder to add the Ash Retrospective to the playlist again. Thank you. I also fixed up the other Retrospective playlists, the ones with the patches. It didn't have 4.1 through 4.5. I added all those in order. What's the thing behind you on the shelves with the red and black handle? What? Handle? I don't know which item you're talking about. It doesn't help that I'm colorblind. Black I can do, but red, but handle is throwing me. That? Is it that? That? Am I pointing at the right thing now? Yeah. Is it that? What is that? I think that's an ornament. I don't know. I don't know which one it is. All right, and the last question was asking when you'll be able to unsync the extreme trials from Endwalker, and the answer is 7.0. And I think that is all of the questions, unless I missed one by accident. But yeah, that is going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. I wonder what my hair will look like next week. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And again, I said it at the beginning, but I'll say it at the end as well. If you have a question, ask it in the comment section of the video below. And with that, I'm going to get to work on some videos. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.